An East Texas lawmaker wants to incentivize nuclear development. Put forward by Representative Cody Harris of Palestine, House Bill 14 would create an office and a fund that's designed to promote advanced nuclear energy technologies. East Texas News' Michael Richardson reports the proposed law passed the House with significant support among lawmakers. Now it's on its way to the Senate.
House Bill 14 would basically make Texas the epicenter for nuclear development in the United States and I would argue in the world.
Representative Cody Harris's bill would create the Texas Advanced Nuclear Energy Office and put aside what he says is $350 million for nuclear development grants, all with the goal of incentivizing projects using the fuel source.
I think we're talking about thousands of jobs, thousands of new high-paying quality jobs.
Natura Resources is working to build a liquid-fueled reactor. The company's founder, Doug Robinson, says House Bill 14 has the potential to accomplish Governor Greg Abbott's goals.
One was we need more dispatchable power on the grid. Secondly is Texas wants to be a leader in the advanced nuclear workspace from an economic development.
Harris's proposal has drawn pushback. At a public hearing earlier this month, some citizens spoke out against the bill.
We fundamentally do not believe that nuclear power will be brought online anytime soon, and when it does, it will be fantastically expensive.
It would create a huge taxpayer-funded handout to the nuclear industry, which has proven over 70 years that it cannot produce a reasonably priced, safe, on-time product without a big mess to clean up.
House Bill 14 comes as Texas leads the country in energy production, according to the Energy Information Administration. Michael Richardson, East Texas News Weekend.
The bill has a little more than a week to make it to the governor's desk before the legislative session ends June 2nd.